If someone asked you, what is a habit that makes another person instantly attractive to you? The first answer that might pop into your mind would probably be someone who shares a lot, someone who is always eager to learn, or someone who constantly works hard and pushes themselves in life, right? Those habits truly are admirable. But sometimes, a person's charm does not come from things that obvious. There are people who do not talk much or try to prove how capable they are, yet somehow, when we are around them, we still feel that they are incredibly interesting and attractive. And the thing that creates that kind of appeal often comes from small habits in the way they think and behave every single day. So what exactly are those habits? And do you happen to have one of them yourself? That is exactly what we are going to explore together in today's video. Now, let's get started. 6 habits that naturally make people attracted to you. Habit 1. Knowing how to listen when others speak. During a coffee meetup with a few friends, one person started talking about a new project he had just completed. But after a while, people began losing focus. I simply sat there and listened. From time to time, I asked a few questions to better understand what he was talking about. Because of that, he became even more excited and kept sharing more about his story. After the meeting, he seemed to really like me and said he felt very comfortable talking with me. That was when I realized something simple. Sometimes a person's charm comes from sincerely listening and truly caring about what others are saying. From a psychological perspective, the attractiveness of listening comes from the principle of scarcity and value in communication. In a world where everyone wants to prove themselves, attention becomes a valuable resource. When you quietly listen, you provide a rare kind of psychological space that allows the other person to talk about themselves. This can trigger the release of dopamine, creating a pleasant feeling similar to receiving a reward. Research from Harvard University also shows that when people feel heard, they feel more important and valued. As a result, they naturally develop trust and goodwill toward the person who listens to them. When you are able to control your ego and let others have the spotlight, you appear calm, confident, and emotionally mature. And that alone can make you someone others trust and feel drawn to, without needing fancy words. Habit 2. Speak to the point. My boss is a very straightforward person. He does not talk much, but he gets a lot done. In meetings, he rarely speaks at the beginning. Instead, he usually lets his colleagues present all their ideas, questions, and viewpoints first. During that time, he mostly just listens and observes. At the end of the meeting, when everyone has finished speaking, he finally starts to talk. He simply summarizes the key points from the discussion and then gives a clear and logical conclusion. And whenever he speaks, the entire meeting room pays close attention. No one interrupts him or argues right at that moment. It is not because he is the boss that people listen to him. In reality, there are plenty of people in leadership positions who still do not receive genuine respect from their employees. But with him, the combination of speaking less, doing more, and only speaking at the right moment naturally earns him respect. People are willing to listen carefully to what he has to say. From a psychological perspective, this is known as the scarcity effect. When something appears too often, its value tends to decrease. The same thing happens with words. When someone talks constantly in order to prove themselves, their words can easily be seen as unnecessary noise. But when someone speaks only at the moments that truly matter, each word carries more weight and captures more attention. In addition, many studies on leadership and organizational behavior have found that people who listen first and only offer their opinions after carefully observing the full situation are often perceived as calmer and more trustworthy. David Rock, in the book Quiet Leadership, also emphasizes that effective leaders do not need to talk excessively. They observe, they think, and they speak or make decisions only when necessary. Because of that, sometimes a person's influence comes from the calm way they communicate. They do not need to speak constantly to prove themselves, yet every time they speak, their message is clear and focused. So in conversations, try building the habit of slowing down your speech, thinking before you speak, and sharing only when it is truly necessary. When your words are thoughtful and intentional, people will naturally listen more carefully and respect what you say. Habit 3. Staying calm during unexpected situations. I still remember when I was in university. That day was my graduation thesis presentation. Right before my turn, my laptop suddenly stopped working and I could not open it, even though my entire presentation was inside. I was shocked, and people around me started whispering, which made me even more nervous. But I tried to stay calm and explain to the professors that my computer had a problem. I asked if I could present the main ideas first while trying to reopen the slides later. So I began presenting based on what I had already prepared. When everyone saw that I was speaking calmly and not panicking, the atmosphere in the room became much more relaxed. People focused on the presentation instead of the technical problem. After I finished, the audience applauded, and the professor said the presentation was clear and easy to understand. That was when I realized something important. Sometimes what makes people trust you is not that everything goes perfectly, but that you remain calm and confident when something unexpected happens. From a psychological perspective, the attraction of calmness during difficulties is closely related to the human instinct to seek safety. When stressful situations occur, many people fall into a fight or flight reaction, which can make emotions chaotic. In that moment, a calm person becomes like a psychological anchor, signaling that the situation is still under control. This helps others feel more secure and naturally draws their attention to the person who remains steady. Calmness is also often seen as a sign of capability and maturity. Panic is associated with losing control, while calm behavior suggests the ability to think clearly and make good decisions. Staying calm shows inner strength and self-control. When you remain steady during difficulties, you create a sense of stability for the people around you and show that you can handle the situation. That is why it is helpful to practice controlling your breathing and focusing on what you can control. When you respond with clarity instead of panic, people will naturally trust and respect you more. Habit 4. Saying no to what does not fit you. At the end of the year, my company held a year-end party. Most employees were encouraged to attend because skipping it could make you seem unenthusiastic about the company. Many people were actually exhausted after a long year of work, but they still showed up because they worried about being judged. However, one coworker honestly said that his family back home was very busy during the end of the year, so he asked his manager for permission to go home early to help them. He said it calmly, without trying to sugarcoat anything or please anyone. Surprisingly, people at the company respected him for that honesty. No one thought he lacked responsibility or commitment. From a psychological perspective, the appeal of people who do not try to please everyone often comes from self-respect and assertiveness. When someone is willing to say no to things that do not feel right, they show that they have their own standards and are not easily pressured by others. That independence often makes them appear more trustworthy and respectable. Their attractiveness also comes from authenticity and rarity. When someone does not say yes easily, their agreement or praise carries more weight. People feel more comfortable connecting with them because their reactions feel sincere rather than polite flattery. In the end, people who live according to their own values create a very natural kind of charm. When they are not dependent on approval or praise, they show confidence and inner strength. That consistency naturally earns respect and draws others toward them. Habit 5. Staying strong when facing difficulties. Once, my team was working on an important project. As the deadline got closer, a major problem appeared, and the project was at risk of failing. The atmosphere in the team became tense, and several people started explaining reasons or looking for ways to avoid responsibility. At that moment, the team leader stepped forward and accepted his part of the responsibility. He said that the most important thing now was finding a solution. Then he proposed a new plan to fix the problem and reassigned tasks for everyone. What impressed me the most was that even in the worst moment, he stayed focused on solving the problem instead of blaming anyone. From a psychological perspective, people often judge someone's character by how they handle difficulties, not by how they act when everything is going smoothly. When a problem appears, many people tend to avoid responsibility or try to protect themselves from failure. But when someone steps forward to face the situation and work toward a solution, they send a clear signal that they are willing to take responsibility and stay in control rather than run away. In psychology, there is also a concept called internal locus of control, which refers to a mindset of taking ownership of one's life. People with this mindset believe that the results of a situation depend largely on their own actions. Because of that, when they encounter difficulties, they usually focus on finding solutions instead of blaming circumstances. Research in leadership psychology and organizational behavior also shows that individuals with this tendency often have stronger influence within a group because they help others see a path forward instead of staying stuck on the problem. In general, people who dare to face and overcome difficulties often become a strong source of inspiration for those around them. When we see someone persist through challenges instead of giving up, we naturally feel admiration and begin to believe that we can do the same. That strength and determination make them the kind of person others notice and want to learn from whenever life presents challenges. Habit 6. Becoming better every day. I have a friend who used to avoid exercise and always looked tired. Later, he started making small changes, waking up earlier, running for about 15 minutes each day, and paying more attention to his diet. After a few months, he looked healthier, more energetic, and much more active. People around him began to notice the change and often asked what his secret was and how he managed to transform so much. In reality, people are often drawn to those who show the ability to grow and improve over time because it reflects determination and initiative in shaping their own lives. When someone continuously improves themselves by becoming healthier, more disciplined, and more proactive, they create a positive energy that easily spreads to the people around them. This is closely related to the idea of a growth mindset, the belief that people can improve through effort and discipline. When others observe that progress, they begin to see the person's potential for the future. This often creates what psychologists call moral elevation, the feeling of inspiration when witnessing someone push beyond their own limits. That feeling can motivate observers to improve themselves as well. This constant transformation naturally turns a person into a magnet for attention, making others both admire them and feel curious about the determination behind their change. In the end, a person's true charm often comes from how they build and manage themselves every single day. When someone knows how to listen, stays calm, lives according to their values, faces difficulties with courage, and keeps improving themselves, that inner stability becomes something others can easily feel. And when you continue walking on that path, respect, meaningful relationships, and a sense of inner peace will gradually appear in your life in a very natural way.